The year was 2025, and the world believed it had finally discovered the cure for every major human disease. After decades of research, scientists at the renowned Elixir laboratories claimed they had created a miraculous serum called Elixir X, a formula designed to strengthen human immunity beyond anything nature had ever created. It was meant to end cancer, viral epidemics, and genetic disorders forever. But as history would later reveal, mankind's greatest hope became its darkest nightmare. Dr. Mira Collins, the lead geneticist of the Elixir X project, had warned the board several times. She insisted that the serum's behavior in primate trials was unstable and possibly dangerous. But the Helix Gen executives were blinded by profit, fame, and the desperate demand from governments worldwide. So despite Mira's objections, Elixir X was secretly tested on a small human group, 20 volunteers suffering from various immunodeficiency diseases. At first, everything seemed fine. Then on the third night, the screaming began, one by one. The volunteers' bodies twisted with violent spasms, their eyes turning a sickly gray. Their muscles expanded unnaturally, and their heartbeats stopped altogether, yet their bodies continued to move. Their minds deteriorated into pure instinct, and they became creatures driven only by one urge, to feed. What began in a sealed lab chamber would soon escape into the world. 2. Collapse of the city. 2 weeks after the experiment failed, news broke of violent attacks across Port Angeles, a coastal city known for its calm charm. People were biting each other in the streets, chasing pedestrians with disturbing speed. Within days, the hospitals were overflowing. The infected were no longer human. They spread like wildfire, each bite turning another person into a raging, blood-hungry monster. The military tried to intervene, but the infection moved faster than bullets. The government ordered an immediate evacuation, but it was already too late. 3. The survivors in the chaos. A small group of survivors managed to escape the city center and gathered inside an old abandoned school at the outskirts. The group included Dr. Mira Collins, the scientist burdened with guilt, Aidan Ward, a former firefighter with unmatched bravery, Lara Kim, a college student and brilliant coder, Jonas, a 12-year-old boy who had lost his family, Sergeant Cole Ramirez, a military man with a strict sense of duty. They were strangers, but disaster had bound them together. The school was dark and cold, but it stood far from the infection hotspots. Aidan barricaded the entrances using desks, tables, and leftover metal sheets. Lara hacked into the old school servers, trying to monitor emergency radio channels. Mira wrote formulas on a blackboard, desperate to find a cure for the outbreak she felt responsible for. Jonas just watched them silently, clutching a baseball bat, as if it was the last thing connecting him to his old life. 4. Mira's secret revelation one cold night. Jonas couldn't sleep and wandered into the science room where Mira was working. He found her staring at a vial of glowing blue liquid, the last remaining sample of Elixir X. "Is that what started all of this?" he asked quietly. Mira nodded, tears filling her eyes. "This was supposed to save people. I never meant for this to happen." Jonas approached her slowly. "If you created it, can you fix it?" Those words struck Mira's heart like lightning. Could she fix it? Could she reverse something so monstrous? She didn't know, but she had to try. "We need something," Mira whispered. "A sample from a recently infected creature. Something that hasn't fully transformed yet." Jonas looked at her with wide eyes. "But that means going outside." 5. Decision at dawn. The next morning, Mira explained her plan to the group. Sergeant Cole immediately objected. "Collecting a partial sample from an infected human is suicide. We barely have enough ammunition to defend ourselves." Aidan, however, agreed with Mira. "If there's even a chance to stop this," he said, "we have to take it." The group debated for hours. Tempers rose. Fear clouded judgment. But in the end, they decided to attempt the mission. Without a cure, they wouldn't survive much longer anyway. The infected were multiplying exponentially. 6. The mission into the ruins. The city looked like a graveyard. Broken cars littered the streets. Smoke rose from abandoned buildings. The smell of death and decay hung thick in the air. The survivors moved cautiously, Aidan and Cole leading the front with rifles. Mira carried her medical backpack. Lara followed with a portable scanner. Jonas stayed close to Aiden, gripping his bat. When they reached a partially destroyed mall, they found what they were looking for, a newly infected woman crawling on the floor. Her transformation incomplete. Her breaths were ragged. Her skin was half gray. Her eyes flickered between humanity and hunger. Mira's hands trembled as she extracted the fluid she needed. Almost there. Just a few seconds. But just as she finished, the woman shrieked, alerting the roamers nearby. Dozens of zombies emerged from the shadows. Aiden fired rapidly. Cole shouted for everyone to fall back. Lara dragged Mira toward the exit. Jonas swung his bat at anything that came close, but the infected kept coming. They were too many. 7. A costly escape. As they ran toward the street, a zombie lunged at Jonas. Before Aiden could react, Cole pushed the boy aside and took the bite himself. "Go!" Cole shouted, firing his rifle as the infection spread through his veins. Aiden grabbed Jonas and ran. Mira clutched the vial tightly, praying it didn't break. They escaped, but at a terrible cost. By the time they reached the school again, Cole was gone. Jonas sat alone in a corner, sobbing quietly. Mira placed the vial on a table and whispered, "Your sacrifice won't be in vain." 8. The race to create a cure for 2 days straight. Mira worked without sleep. She analyzed the sample, ran simulations, mixed compounds, and tested tiny drops on infected tissue samples. Lara assisted her, using software to model the viral mutations. "We don't need to cure them fully," Mira said. "We just need something that slows the transformation, gives the immune system time to fight it back." Aiden's job was to protect them. He checked traps, reinforced doors, and kept Jonas close. On the 3rd night, Mira finally succeeded. The new serum, Elixir C, could reverse the early stages of infection. It wasn't perfect, but it was hope. "We need to test it," Mira said. "On a real infected host," Aiden nodded. "There's only one place with a controlled chamber, the original Helix Gen lab. They had to go back to where it all began." 9. Return to Helix Gen. The lab was halfway across the city, surrounded by wreckage and roaming infected. When they reached it, the front gates were broken open. Inside, they found the facility in ruins. Blood on the floors, shattered computers, overturned equipment. Then they heard movement. A half-infected security guard was trapped inside a containment chamber. He was conscious but delirious, and his transformation was in its early stages. "He's perfect for a test," Mira said. With shaky hands, she injected Elixir C into the man's bloodstream. Minutes passed. The man's breathing slowed. His eyes regained clarity. His pulse returned. The gray patch on his skin faded slightly. "It's working," Lara whispered. But before they could celebrate, alarms blared throughout the building. The injection had awakened something far worse. 10. The final monster, a hulking creature, emerged from the shadows of the lab's lower level. Experiment 0, the very first test. Subject of Elixir X. No longer human, it had mutated into a massive zombie with armored skin, bone-like spikes, and terrifying speed. It smashed through the walls, sensing them instantly. Aiden fired at it, but bullets barely pierced its hide. Mira grabbed Jonas and ran while Lara bashed in a computer to distract it. The creature roared, shaking the ground. Aiden shouted, "Get to the roof. Evac helicopters might still fly over this zone." They sprinted toward the stairwell as the monster chased them, breaking everything in its path. 11. Sacrifice and survival on the rooftop. The wind whipped against their faces. The city burned below them. The monster burst through the door. Aiden stepped forward. "Get behind me!" But before the creature could leap, Mira ran in front of Aiden, holding the last vial of Elixir C. She shouted, "Come and get me, you mistake!" The creature lunged. Mira injected the serum directly into its neck. The monster shrieked, stumbling backward. Its muscles convulsed. Parts of its mutated flesh began dissolving. But the transformation backlash created an explosion of force, knocking Mira off her feet and over the edge of the building. "Mira!" Aiden screamed, but it was too late. The monster collapsed, dead at last. Below, sirens echoed. A rescue helicopter approached the rooftop. 12. A new beginning. Aiden, Lara, and Jonas were lifted into the helicopter. They watched the destroyed city fade away beneath them. Jonas whispered, "Will the cure save everyone?" Mira's notebook was in Lara's hands. Inside it were all the formulas they needed. "Yes," Lara said. "We'll finish what Mira started." Aiden looked at the horizon. Humanity had suffered greatly. Millions were gone. But thanks to Mira's sacrifice, hope lived on. The cure could be mass-produced, cities could be reclaimed, and maybe, just maybe, humanity would learn not to play God again.